I have a surprise guest for you folks. I stumbled across Dad University's Jason Kreidman. You guys will actually be amazed that someone with an 11-year-old and 13-year-old, just the insight. I think all of us, I think he mentioned that as soon as you become a parent, I mean, or before you're a parent, you're an expert, right? And then you
Of
have a
course.
child and you think, what did I sign up for? So Dad University is an educational company dedicated to helping dads, and I love this, go from overwhelmed and confused to calm and confident. So we have very similar journeys and missions through his course, YouTube channel videos, social media. Jason's working to improve the lives of dads globally. So thank you so much. I know you are really busy. And so I appreciate the time and the advice you'll be sharing. How do we, first, I'm giving you a little background on what made you even create Dad University. And then, of course, how do we save our sanity?
Well, I will try to solve the world's problems in 15, 20 minutes. How did I start Dad University? I went through my own struggles. My wife and I had our second child. My first child was, at the time 3, and second child was 1 or so. I had my mother pass away at that time. I was not doing great. I was very stressed out, work and relationship tension and child tension and all these things happening. And I felt like there just had to be something a little better. I've always been a seeker. I've always looked for solutions. And so I started a support group locally, actually. At the time, it was a meetup group. And I just said, if I'm going through this, there's got to be other dads that are having the same problems. And there was. And, people would come and go. A group started getting bigger and then retract. And I just stuck with it because I was getting something out of it. Make a short story long. I started a podcast because I had been a guest on many podcasts for my business stuff. And I had done internet marketing, and I just really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed having conversation and talking. And then started that podcast, and we just continued to go. And I said, it'd be interesting to do some videos. Like, I feel like this could translate well on YouTube and do videos. So I started doing that, and that's kind of where it started taking off. That's the response and the comments and the feedback, and companies started trying to align themselves with the customer. All of a sudden it went from, and I really didn't have any intention of it being a business of any kind or such. It was really for myself and for those around me. How can I support other dads? How can we as a community support other dads? And that's kind of, that's still to this day the mission. And then, started doing videos, created a parenting course, and doing the consulting with clients. And so it just kind of blossomed from there into something that was actually viable as a business. And so now it's been really interesting, to maintaining the integrity of its mission, by also now, producing profit. So that's where, and to make sure that's not in conflict. The majority of my work is still free videos on YouTube. That's where a lot of people can, see the work that I do. And, but if they want more and they want to go deeper, then, that's when I do the coaching and the course. And so at the time going through the podcast, I started taking parenting classes. I started getting certified in parenting, talking with people. And a lot of it too was my experiences that I had learned from, we were talking before this about, if I would have done this, or this is how I would have done it. Some of that is the case. I will say the difference of maybe how or the work that I do versus I think a lot of people in the parenting world, I'm focused so much on myself. In other words, what am I bringing to the table? So there is certainly the child and how they act and what to do with the child, but so much of it is about ourselves. And so, I'm a practitioner of meditation and yoga and mindfulness, and so much of that has come into play for me because I, throughout my whole life, was anxiety ridden, stressed, worrier, yeller. And so that's when it did the intro of like going from calm and confident, I don't have it all figured out. I still get upset. I still, have my situations in which I could have done better, but they're less. I recover quicker. I'm much calmer than I used to be. And I think the people around me have appreciated that. So
how do you come up with your topics?
So some of the topics are my own issues that I went through, and just, what, this would be a good topic. I'm also a search expert by nature of the work that I've done over 20 years of internet marketing and internet search. And so I look at demand, what are people searching for and what do people want? And then suggestions. I get a lot of emails and comments on my videos of people, hey, can you talk about this or, do this? And so there doesn't seem to be a shortage of topics, that parents have. And I do speak specifically to dads, but it's been interesting. Obviously, as I've grown, I've gotten more women in the audience and commenting and appreciating the work. So it's not that they're not allowed, but
right.
I definitely cater to, what I know and what I've experienced and from a male perspective, even though the male perspective is really a wide range of things. And so a lot of it is just how we show up, how we support our partner, how we support our kids, and how we support ourselves.
So what do you think is the number one? I know there's so many different challenges that dads encounter, but we were just talking about earlier how moms respond versus dads respond, right? So if you had some kind of like crisis, what's the difference? Because we had an incident when my daughter was 18 months and she had a seizure. And we were going to my mom's house, ambulance was going to be there, paramedics, and my husband was very calm. And he said, things are going to be okay. I'm like, how can you say that? We're not there. She's unconscious. We don't even know. And I was really upset that he was just very calm saying, it's going to be okay.
Yeah. So there's a lot to unravel there. I'll touch the surface is that, you had expectations there of like how he should be and how he should react, which can cause an issue, not that. And here's the thing, expectations sometimes are totally justified and make sense and everything else, but having expectations, I just actually did a video on this, having expectations sets us up for failure. Like, because we have these expectations, we're setting ourselves up. And what happens when our spouse doesn't meet that or our child doesn't meet that expectation? So that's one level. The second is, there's a reason you probably got together with your husband is because he's calm.
Right.
I have the opposite where I'm the high strung, high stress. My wife, and especially she's in the medical field, a medical issue, she's as calm and cool and collective. So I also appreciate that. And so it's figuring out, there's a fine line between, disgust and appreciation, maybe.
Exactly. You're right. And it did calm me a little, but there was a part of me that said, you might be lying. You are lying, because how can anyone say that it's going to be all right when you don't know?
We want people to be in our own misery sometimes.
Yes, we do.
Why don't you join me? And my wife will not join me in my misery. So I've learned she's like, that's on you. Like, I'm not going to let, and I've now learned this is like, I'm not going to let what other people are doing affect my serenity. And that's a huge one for parents and their children. Like, why would I allow my child's behavior to affect me being happy? Like, it's my child's behavior. You have to separate yourself from it. I can be happy no matter what. It's a choice. And so I often talk about that, and we have a choice in where, you and I can walk up to a situation. Somebody could yell at us individually, like they'll yell at you. We could interpret that totally different between you and I. You might say, I can't believe this guy's yelling at me. Like, how dare he do, and then I might say, wow, that person seems a little strange, like, so we interpret these situations very differently. And for your husband, I'm guessing, and I don't know, but he's probably a very solid foundational person for you.
Yeah.
And so that's always worked. But in those situations where you want him to be stressful, he's not going to. And so it's
probably the reason why we attracted that person, because I'll be like,
Sure.
and he'll say something, but it's not worth to argue.
Yeah.
And of course, I'm thinking, yes, it is worth to argue. And then
Well,
inside,
yes, I mean, our spouses have to realize that we are always right. Yeah.
Yeah. So how do you, that is really enlightening though. I just discovered that just recently, but to practice it, when you coach, you're like, you know what? Don't take it personally. Your child's behavior does not reflect your worth as a parent. And then when it happens, at home, I'm thinking, wow.
Yeah. You have to practice it constantly. No, all of this parenting stuff, let's call it, is muscle. It's like going to the gym. It's like, you don't get in shape in one day, eating a salad and going to the gym in one day. It's like, it takes a long time for you to see results. And children are kind of the same way as it relates to parenting. It's like, you have, and especially when they're really young, because they don't get it. Like their brains are not soaking it in. And to look at a 3-year-old and expect that they are going to behave in a certain way and understand a certain way when you haven't done much, maybe you've just tried a technique that you heard about, it's not going to happen right away. And so patience, I would say, is a big thing for dads, because we're typically not patient. Because you had asked, of going kind of a long way, going back to what's really important. I think patience is really important. The other thing I will say is empathy. I preach that a lot for myself and those around me and the dads as well. Admit women are typically much better at it. They typically are better at putting themselves in other person's situation and realizing, what, that's probably a hard thing. Or, wow, maybe I don't feel this way, but I can see that that's tough for you, so I do care. Whereas men have a tendency not to do that as much, where it's just, well, I don't understand why you're upset, or I don't see why you feel that way, or we try to solve the problem.
Yes. You're fixers. Men.
Yeah, we're fixers. Right? Hey, that's our job. We're supposed to fix it and solve all the issues. So for me, patience was huge, because you can try to fight that all you want, but if you have children, you got to be patient. And empathy. Those are probably the two biggest. Empathy changed the way I parent, the way I have a relationship with my wife. I mean, all kinds of stuff.
That's true, because I just witnessed someone, and he's 5. Why are you putting, he had a little Hulk. Why are you putting it in your mouth? We've said this before. It's very unsanitary. Why do you keep doing that?
Because it tastes good.
Yeah. And the little boy's like, are you going to take Hulk away from me? No, but you have to stop putting it in your mouth. And you see that. Why are you putting your fingers in your mouth? Why are you putting, and then the child, of course, is not going to give you an answer that's no answer will satisfy you. But
no, I wanted to write a book called 1,000 Times.
Yes.
And that explains it all. I mean, if you're a parent, you understand that. I've told you.
I've told you.
I've had to tell you 1,000 times.
Well, then when you read about what not to say, right? Never say. You know how many times I've said this to you, or if your brain. Some mom said that if your brain wasn't in your head, you would have just lost your brain. What were you thinking? And then it just destroys your self-esteem. But when you're in the middle of it, right? You're out in the rain. And then you realize, now with the COVID card, right? You go to a restaurant on this past Monday, it's just mandated. You cannot go into a restaurant without your COVID vaccine card, but you also need your ID. So my daughter had her photo on the phone, which is sufficient, but she didn't have her ID. We have reservations in Waikiki. We're in Mililani about a good 30 minutes, and we're thinking,
You're going to sit outside.
Yeah, what were you thinking? You know, it's the birthday dinner. And you know what's really funny though? My husband's like, you have to be like an adult. You have to keep your wallet, keep your vaccine card now, and then your license. And then all of a sudden we see him go, says a naughty word. I go, what? He goes, I don't know what happened. For the first time in his life, Jason, he forgot his wallet. So the girls are giggling.
Hmm.
And I just say something like,
Do
"It
as
is a
I
little-"
say, not as I do. Yeah.
It's a little funny.
Right.
So,
We're going to
but
go
you
to
know,
fast food instead. Yeah.
yeah. So we prayed and prayed, and then the lady's like, you know, can you go onto your us.gov? But he still needed his ID. But all of a sudden I said, well, let's see how dad practices his EQ skills, because dad has a tendency to like know how to emotionally connect with people. And she's like, you know, you really need your ID. And we walk away, and I think she felt sorry because she, you know, I had a lay on. She knew it was my birthday, and we were planning on this. And she goes, okay, well, go ahead to your table. And we thought, so my daughter's like, we can eat here.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's like anything. When your children make mistakes, you know, there is a good way to handle that, you know, and the truth is that we all make mistakes. We all make a lot of mistakes. And so, you know, that's a perfect example of like getting upset at your children for making a mistake. You know,
And it's a new thing. I mean, having
Yeah.
your COVID vaccine card with your ID is just so new. People are not able to go into libraries.
Yeah.
You know, people are not, and then you think that's a
I mean, I
whole
don't
new-
believe in also catering to them, like where next time you bring their stuff. I mean, like it's their,
No. And that's the
You know.
one thing that I stopped doing. It's like, oh
Yeah.
no, I forgot my
I forgot my
pen.
shoes. I forgot
My
sorry.
water bottle. Yeah, I forgot my water bottle. And I tell moms who grumble that they have to go back to the school because soccer practice, he needs his water. And I go, no, he doesn't. Guess what? He will survive being thirsty.
Right. And he will never forget the water bottle again.
Exactly. So what
Right.
do you, how do you do that? How do you tell? Because I noticed even a dad that I know said, we told him if he doesn't get up, he's a senior in high school. He might get up at 2, he misses the entire day of class. And he said,
Whatever
I can't do
whatever
that.
the ramifications are that he gets, that's what he has to live with. You know, I mean, like at a certain point, the responsibility, especially if they're in high school and stuff,
Yes.
what that'll typically mean is that I mean, I don't know the individual situation, but it typically is that there was probably issues before, you know, where meaning the parent didn't do things as those steps where making them responsible for it, you know. And I know with my own children, even though they're younger, you know, they may get a single pass for the situation, whatever. Like there's an example where, you know, my son wanted to exercise in the morning with me. And so I said, you know what? Go ahead and do that. I said, but if you don't get up, I'm not going to wake you. Like, it's up to you to get up. I'm not going to. And he got up, you know, and then there's been other times where he's like, no, I didn't want to get up. And it's up to you. Like,
Right.
I'm not here to be the police. You know, there are certain things that obviously you want your children, like whether it's schoolwork, but it's the same thing with homework. Like,
Exactly.
I'm not asking my children whether they did their homework or not. That's up to them. I don't sit there and police it. I don't, you know, that's between them and their teacher. I don't think I have ever, that I can recall, my children are now in 8th and 6th grade, where I have asked my child if they got their homework done. Maybe once or twice because it was a project or something. They're both great students.
I think
Yeah.
that's the hardest thing when you have parents say, but you know what, he's behind 10 assignments, and then it turns into an argument, and then they feel like they have to sit down with them to do homework. Both people are crying, and then it becomes 10 at night and you have a 7-year-old, and it's not going to be.
No, I think there are situations where a child might have some disability, like difficulties or like challenges, and then you have to support them in a certain way. But if it is simply, I decided not to do it, I didn't get it done in time, I did, you know, whatever, I forgot. Okay, maybe that happens once or twice. But then the ramifications, like the natural consequences happen, you know,
Well, and that's what I've been trying to, teach, like.
I'm
natural
not going to punish them in
consequences.
addition to it. Like, you know,
Yes.
going to your room, you're like, the school has its rules. And those are the rules. And so if you missed the assignment and then had to stay after school, like that is the punishment. Like you not going to something or me punishing you, it's not related, you know. So, and we can go down that road,
Well, and
but
that's a hard one because sometimes like dances will be taken away, the phone will be taken away, and then resentment builds. But as a parent, I think.
yeah, but what does that teach them?
Exactly.
Nothing. Taking a phone away is only an appropriate response if there was something horrible that happened or bad with the phone.
Right.
Like I just don't, I mean, it's not my parenting style to take something they like away because they did something wrong. Now, I mean, other parents disagree. And when I do a video about that, I get a ton of comments, and it's fine. Me get more views on the video.
Right.
Find the arguments, but it's the same thing with spanking. It's the same, like people have their own philosophy. They can argue all they want. It's not going to convince me. I have my own teachings and my own way. That's great. But yeah, those are some issues for sure that, at least for me, I know the way that I was parented was that way where.
And I think that's what's happening.
What's
it
that?
worked for me, so
Right.
I think that I know it's going to work for them because you know what's missing? Discipline. Like in Hawaii, you use the rubber slipper, the slipper method, the whatever method. And I'm thinking, so my daughter actually, when she went to work, she said, what is the slipper? Because I had never used a slipper, and I said, well,
Right.
Back in the old days, principal could use paddles. I mean, it's the slipper, it's the
and people will
whatever
say that it was like, I got spanked and the reality is it was the tens of thousands of hours and love that your parents gave you that actually taught you the proper way. It wasn't the smack or the threat of the smack that actually did it. It was I respect authority and I appreciate my parents and I appreciate what I'm doing. And so I'm doing the right thing. And people make, I think, the connection wrong in my.
Well, do you think fear though? A lot of them say, and they will never do it again because they don't want this whipping.
Fear can work in the short term, and then they'll never call you up to have lunch when you're an adult.
Exactly. And that's what we're finding, right? Parental alienation, adult children who just
I don't want my children to fear me. That's not I have no desire for my children to fear that I may not love them, or I might not think that they're okay, or that I might not. I want my children to know that unconditionally, no matter what, I am here. I love them. I support them. There was a saying, it's like, my mom had taught me this one. It's like, if you stab somebody, it means they walked into the knife. Like that's my thinking. It's like, that's what my mom used to say, that there's not that you can't do anything wrong, but I'll support you. That was the thought.
Well, that was my message. And I think I said it like, even if you killed it, they're like, what? Even if I killed someone, I said, but and they're like 10, but the whole message was, I love you no matter what. And even if, because otherwise you live in fear of not having your parents' love, which is it just provides an unsafe, you don't feel a conditional love, right? So what's your last words of wisdom with parents who, I guess you can't change your mind, but why do you think it's better to give natural consequences? And a follow-up question is, how do you let go? I'm still struggling with that. Like let go, like I'm gonna.
Yeah, I mean, the teachings that I had when I was very young, when I was a young parent, of positive discipline and redirecting children's behavior, and some of these kind of philosophies, they all come from Dreikers and these philosophers and psychologists, and it's the reasons we do things and the motivations of we do things of psychology. And so I have just used these methods since I, started parenting. It was the methods that my parents used with me. My mother especially was very forward thinking that way. I mean, everything was a positive. It was sort of positive discipline back then, and the 70s and in the 80s. We talked about things. I knew their love was unconditional. I do think that certain things came from that, but yeah, I don't know. It's kind of like an innate thing that I have felt like this has really worked. And in the end result, I have wonderful, law abiding, friendly children, at least so far. That might change and they make mistakes just like we make mistakes. But there's a tremendous bond. There's a tremendous love there. And for me, it seems right. For other people, a certain style seems right. But I choose love over fear, and so for me, a lot of the things that men argue, especially with discipline and teaching their children, it's about fear. It's about fear versus love. And I just subscribe to the love part. Fear doesn't work to me. It works in the short term. I mean, you yell at your children or you threaten them or you punish them. It will work. It will get them to be quiet. It will get them to go to their room. It'll get them to not, or to avoid what it is that they were going to do. But in the long term, it just doesn't work. Mm-hmm. I think it causes more negative than it does positive. Maybe that's the best way of, like, if there's a scale, it probably does work some, but the negatives outweigh the positives. So,
well, then don't they learn just to lie? Or, like I have students who say, well, I know I'm going to get in trouble, but you know what? I have 5 days until the report card comes in. So I'm going to enjoy life until I get punished.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same, and maybe this is strange, but like, it's the same thing with grades, where I used to be very concerned before I had children, and even, when they were young, of like the achievement and such. And I know that in my house, it was sort of an unspoken thing. Like, we just were achievers, like my parents didn't like push that hard per se, but that caused me a lot of anxiety in my college years. And, like perfectionism of always thinking.
Same here. Yeah, same here. And then that stress of being perfect, which is why as I got older, I thought, horrible. But and it's ingrained. When I was doing the teacher's program, I was 8 months pregnant. I said, all I need is a C to get the certification. It's fine. Something happens when you're in that competitiveness. And here I'm on the floor doing like the exercises. And I'm thinking, wow, it's innate. It's like you need to achieve because it reflects part of you.
And achievement doesn't equal happiness, and that's
what people,
that's the difference is, for me, I look at what are the things that are going to make my children happy that I've learned over, 40 something years, that's what I can transfer to them versus, because I've achieved a heck of a lot, but those aren't the things that have made me happy. Like, it's just, then I'm continually going after the carrot, built a successful business, financially successful, or that, like, those are cool, but they are not what has brought happiness, I just had a dinner with my daughter sitting on a bench near the beach. Like, that was happiness. Like, we've got some takeout, we've sitting on there. My wife and my son were away. I mean, it was only like 30 minutes, but like that filled my cup so much. And she even looked over and was like, Dad, this is awesome. I'm having so much fun. I was like, oh, wow. She still has a good time when we're together. But those are the things that you remember. And the big thing I think I remember is, nobody on their deathbed ever said I should have spent more time at the office.
Oh, I've been saying that a lot. Yeah, because I know when, like my husband has 16-hour days and it's like you have all these projects, but no one's going to say, I wish I did more projects, as we find people who are dying or diagnosed with cancer, and you think it really gives us perspective. And like you said, I like how you just said that you're always chasing the carrot. So you know how you have these students, you're like, I need A's, I need extra credit. Oh my gosh, there's going to be a quiz. And I look at them and I think, oh my gosh, that's how I was, and they get really, really scared to the point where they think I'm not a good person if I don't get that A. I just got a 75. And it's like a death sentence.
Yeah. And I have to self-talk all the time. I mean, I'm building, Dad University. It's like, well, I could do 3 videos a week. I could do, 2 more different courses. there comes a time where you just realize like you can only do so much and you have to prioritize. You have to prioritize what is important. It's like I'm already not watching TV and not, doing things that I can't do more. Like that's it.
Oh, and balancing, right? Balancing.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we do think if you're an achiever, you think I can just throw in this and this. It's only 3 more things, not realizing, well, that's going to take 3 more hours, and then you realize, wait.
Yeah, I already get up way too early. So it's
What time do you start your day?
4:40. Yeah. I exercise, I meditate, I do yoga. It's like.
And what time do you go to bed? What time is your day end?
Yeah, really 10, about 10. I mean, give or take, but that's the goal. Yesterday was 10, sometimes it's 9:30, sometimes it's 11:30. Not enough sleep though, but
I was going to say, don't you think
I don't
that
pride myself
parenting?
on that. I don't pride myself on it. I try to get to sleep earlier. It's not something where I'm like, oh, I only get this many hours or, it's just certain things have come along where it's like in the mornings, that's the time where it's quiet in my house, and I've found that works better for me. So, by the end of the night, I'm done.
Mm-hmm.
I've got issues. Sleeping's not one of them. Like I can fall asleep easy. But it's a lot. It's a lot of work, and to try to get during that time is another challenge. So.
What sounds like, you have a very much needed service. I just love Dad University, just the name. And how do people find you? Do you have any
Yeah, the best is just the website. The website has the links to everything. Most people, my biggest audience is on YouTube, Dad University, but the website has all the links and everything.
So that daduniversity.com or what's
daduniversity.com. Yeah. And
then on Instagram is also Dad University, right?
Yeah, it's Dad Univ, DAD.
Yeah.
I'm not tremendously active on the other platforms as much. YouTube is really where, because I release videos and shorts and then the website has a bunch of articles too. So.
Well, check out his website, daduniversity.com. I must have stumbled across some of your videos because when you watch a lot of parenting videos and all of a sudden this pops up and I thought we need him on the letting go.
See, my thought of is working or looking at what people are searching for. So if you found it that way.
But I think more parents need to just have resources, so that we can especially like you said, YouTube or I saw some of the videos on Instagram and I think you are drawn to what you need. So you might be having a stressful moment and then you've covered a lot of them where you just either laugh or you think that's right.
Well, those platforms are so smart now that you don't even need to type anything in. They know what you're thinking. So
yeah. Well, thank you so much, Jason. I really appreciate
for sure. That was fun.
This was fun. And I'm going to be, I did reach out. Just think about it for next year's Parent Summit. I'm not going to be calling it. Well, I hope it's not a pandemic parenting summit. We'll just call it continued parenting summit. So think about it because I think, you have a gold mine of, very quality, much needed information because like you said, there's no parenting 101. And I think we can just learn from each other and especially with your background and your research.
Yeah.
And just having that actual experience working with clients. It's just, we need to band together and help parents because it's just really stressful losing our sanity. And no matter how qualified you feel or you're grounded, because I've had days, right? You do the yoga, you do the meditation, you think I am ready. And all you need to hear is dad or mom. Dad. And then you think, what happened to my centeredness?
Yeah, no, it's I know. Well, that's why I've been doing additional yoga and meditation at night. So I can start the day a little bit and end the day a little bit and then a sandwich of chaos in between. So
that's what it's amazing. You can do 2 minutes, 3 minutes. And I'm thinking, wow, I should have done this earlier years ago. But now with YouTube, it's and it's amazing. You can do 3 minutes and it pops up. 7-minute, it pops up, even
Yeah.
1 minute. And then all of a sudden you think, all's right with the world. I think I get it.
For sure.
Well, thank you so much, Jason. And you have a great rest of your day.
Awesome. You too.
Okay. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.